my good friend, Republican strategist and host of the Stone Zone podcast, Roger Stone's going to weigh in. Rog, you know how I like to do it. Where would you like to begin, sir?
Well, let's start with Elon. I mean, Elon is a hero.
Yes.
Elon had no problems with the federal government and any of his companies until he bought Twitter, renamed it X, and set it up as a platform where people of divergent views could actually have a voice.
Amen.
So uncensored. It's not perfect, but it's damn good. And that got him targeted. Suddenly, Elon found out he was the target of 9 different federal investigations into his various companies. I think Elon figured out before the last election that if Donald Trump was not elected, that they would, pardon the expression, trump up some fake charges against the richest man perhaps in the world and seek to incarcerate him. At the same time, they destroyed his companies. Instead, he's done an incredible job here because, Dan, he didn't just find millions or billions in waste, fraud, and abuse. He literally found trillions.
Yep.
And here's the real question, which is, okay, now that he's identified these things, will the Republicans in Congress take a meat axe to federal spending? They did not do so in the big, beautiful bill.
No.
Although there is a structural argument that wasn't really the place to do it. The president is sending a rescission bill to the House, which for $98.4 billion, which sounds like a lot of money. But it's like 5% of the waste, fraud, and corrupt spending that Elon Musk has uncovered, and therefore it's not good enough. If things continue the way they are, we will continue funneling money through our tax dollars to USAID, which goes into the hands, in many cases, of Islamic terrorists and others who are plotting the downfall of this country. So Republicans have got to get serious about cutting spending.
Yes, and we need to stay on top of them more. I'll tell you what, I've got a few members coming on next week, and I'm going to give them a holy you-know-what because I'm getting tired of this. Like, codify what Trump's doing, make these cuts. That's why we elected the man. That's why we gave you GOPers, you Republicans, you alleged conservatives. We gave you the House and Senate back to do what we want you to do, and you're not doing it. Let's move over to China and the tariffs before we get to the SCOTUS ruling today. You can't trust China. I mean, Trump's the deal maker, and he was trying to make a good deal. Let's not forget, Roger, he had a deal with China on his first term, and then COVID hit. But give me your input on that one, brother.
Well, he did have a good deal with China during his first deal. Joe Biden essentially just abandoned it. Gordon Chang, the old China hand, was on my show today, actually 10 days ago, predicted that the Chinese would violate a short-term deal. Trump really did bail them out. The reports of unrest in China are understated. There are, according to my sources, mass protests, a run on some banks in the eastern part of the country. The people grow restless because the position of their leaders shut down a bunch of factories, threw a lot of people out of work. There's an unavailability of certain consumer goods. So all is not well. The Chinese cannot be trusted. You would think they would be happy that Trump didn't launch an attack on Iran, because that's where they get most of their oil. Iran really is a puppet state of the Chinese regime. This is going to be a tough negotiation now because Donald Trump is pissed and testing him is always a gigantic mistake.
Yeah, rightfully so. He should be, because he didn't have to help them out. But in good faith, he was saying, hey, you know, we've been getting screwed for decades, so I'm trying to right the ship. And then I see you're struggling, so in good faith, I'll do this. Now let's get back to the table, and they screw us over. But that's China, let's be real. That is our biggest adversary on the planet, over Russia, over Iran. It's freaking China. All right, let's move to the SCOTUS decision, because we have had these activist judges now. And Raj, this happened when he was candidate Trump. Now he's President Trump. It's all they got is lawfare. They got to use these liberal judges trying to stop everything he's doing. One of the major things we wanted was fix the economy, secure the border. These judges, why wouldn't you want millions of illegals expelled? They're sucking off of our cash, our tax dollars. What are they providing to this country? This is nothing more than trying to just stop something Donald J. Trump is doing.
As you know, we had a D.C. District Court judge rule the President of the United States does not have the authority to deport dangerous, illegal gangbanger criminals. That went all the way to the Supreme Court. where Trump won. Now, this week, it's a new little game. Out of nowhere, the International Court of Trade. Have you ever heard of that, Dan? Because
No.
I certainly haven't.
There is one?
It's an obscure court in Manhattan, New York City, that for decades has ruled that presidents have an absolute authority to conduct tariff negotiations. It was only a week ago that a federal judge in Florida, T.K. Wetherall, said that the president clearly had the authority to conduct these tariff negotiations based on his claim of economic emergency, as well as the emergency of the flood of illegal drugs coming into our country, particularly from China. Also, the incredibly dangerous trade imbalances. But Wetherall didn't issue a ruling. He just said that. Then he bounced this to this obscure three-judge panel in New York City that said Trump can't even negotiate tariff deals with other nations. Now, the Trump legal team swung into action, went immediately to a federal appeals court, which put a stay on the International Trade Court's decision that said that Trump had to stop negotiating. So the negotiations have picked up yet, but that's not a final decision. My guess, Dan, is this ends up in front of the U.S. Supreme Court as well. They're trying to tie the hands of the President of the United States.
That's all they got.
He was awarded this executive authority by winning the last election.
Right.
The people have spoken. He has a mandate. The Constitution is clear.
That's it.
People who had no problems with the sweeping powers that were used by Barack Obama or even George W. Bush now suddenly have a problem with executive authority.
Yeah,
it's
ridiculous.
all political. And let me mention the worst one of them all. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, who is a lawyer, not an economist, refuses to cut interest rates despite historic low inflation. I guess he's afraid that the Trump boom is coming, and a cut in interest rates, plus taking Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two premier housing agencies in the country that are flush with cash, public, while continuing the guarantee of the mortgages they approve, is a recipe to solve the affordable housing problem in this country that Trump said would be among his highest priorities when he was elected. Powell is the one who's acting politically. He says he doesn't have enough data. Well, the data he's looking at is already outdated. This $1 too late, 1 day too short strategy that they employed during Joe Biden's time is what gave us record inflation. So it's time for a rate cut. Now, the president can't fire the Fed chairman, unfortunately. He can appoint a new one, but that doesn't happen until next year. The Republicans, however, could pass a bill to repeal the Federal Reserve Act and do away with this private bank that is doing nothing but getting in the way of economic opportunity.
You know they're not going to do that, Roger. We've been pushing for that. The GOP won't do that. They have no you-know-whats. Roger, as always, we appreciate your input so much. Check out his podcast, The Stone Zone. You have a good weekend, Roger.
Thanks, Dan. God bless you.